So just a moment ago, I used some trammel points for burnishing the holes on my my tenons here. Another thing you could use, I forgot to mention, is some of these little metal punches. I'll put the size. I can't remember which size this is, 1/8 inch or something. But these are only like $1 or $2, a couple of dollars, which is a lot cheaper than a $50 or $60 draw bore. But you can also buy those draw boring pins as well. I like to save a little money. Another way to save a little money in this step is instead of buying a hand forged riving knife or whatever you call it, I just use a meat cleaver, a used meat cleaver that I got from my sister a number of years ago, and we're going to be using it to cleave the wood. So what wood should you use? Well, I like to make sure I have nice straight grained wood. And why is that important? Because if you get some grain in there that's not straight, look what that does, and that'll kind of move over time and mess up your joint. So I like to rive out pretty straight grained pieces. You can, something like that. You can see how this one is pretty vertical all along here. There might be a few little turns in there, but I like to do a bunch at the same time just so I make sure I have a lot to work with. So, and you don't even have to have a meat cleaver. If you just find a a blunt piece or a little bit sharp piece of metal, just not a chisel. Well, I guess a chisel would work in soft pine like this. And you can see I split that way. And you can split it again. Now I'm using, you can see how nice and straight that splits. That gives us something really good to work with. Now you notice I'm using pine in these. I haven't seen a lot of other people do draw boring. I don't know a lot of the other techniques. I kind of figured a lot of it out on my own. But some people recommend that you always use oak or something hard like that. But in my experiments, I found that oak, when the pins are like oak, they're a lot more hard wood, and so when you try to drive them in, a softer wood like pine, it tends to split it out. So I have decided always to use some wooden pins that are similar or the same species, the same density, same hardness, so it'll go through without tearing your leg apart on your desk. So this is kind of my method. Some other people might have some other methods, but this is what I've found works best, is just riving them out like this. And I like to have the final dimensions be about 5/16. I use this little dowel plate. You can make your own. The nice thing about this lie-nielsen one, and I'll share a link below this video, is that it's relieved on the backside there, so it comes out a lot easier. But I like to get my pieces split down till they're about 1/2 inch, and I'll show you with a little bit bigger piece what I do. I like to use a chisel. Some people, just a bench chisel, maybe 1/4, 3/4, or 1 inch. Some people like to use these big timber framing chisels. Depends on what you're doing, I guess. And then I just take the corners off. You can turn the bevel down like that. I like to take the corners off and just work at it until you're getting it a little bit more rounded or octagonal on both ends. And then once you get it down to pretty close to the size of the biggest hole in your dowel plate, and you don't have to use one of these by any means. You can just go straight down. I just find you can just go straight down just with the chisel and work your way down. I just find this to be a time saver. So I'll take this chisel. It's a little bit closer, but you can get it down to where it's going to fit in your biggest hole. I guess we could try this one. And this pine's a little softer, so make sure you support it up here so it doesn't fracture. and then you can try to move down a hole. And if it's just too tight, just trim off some of the pieces. I probably could have made that a little smaller with a chisel before I went through. But you can see how it's starting to give you a nice little dowel. I like to run it through twice to give it, shave off a little extra. And then the 3/8, that's going to be a little hard to get through, so I like to give it at least a little starting point. So trim this down. Most of this I learned through trial and error and through reading some other stuff. So you may have a completely different and maybe better way than what I have, and that's fine. There are multiple ways to do everything, or to do most things. I get a lot of messages from people who say that I'm doing something wrong, and I'll respond to them and show them that somebody else that does it the way I do it, and that it's not necessarily that it's wrong, it's just different than what they learned. So just always keep that in mind, that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I hope I didn't offend any cat lovers out there. It's just a figure of speech. All right, so we're getting close here. See if we can get this through 5/16, and that's where I'll stop. And I would shave this last little piece down to smaller than 1/4 of an inch and just work on tapering it until it's something like this, or this one's probably a little bit better. And you can see how this is tapered down, so that now when we get our little burnished hole there, and I hope you can see down in here, it will be smaller than the hole, and so we can just tap it through. And just be careful not to go too much or too hard, too fast. And we'll start another one in here. And it is sucking that right up, sucking that tenon right up into the mortise. And don't go too much or too hard, or you can split this. Like I said, that I figured out before. And you can see that it's coming through. I could probably go through a little bit more. But you get the idea. See how tight that is? I didn't even use glue. And the other pieces will be coming, the other dowels will be coming through like that, and like, let's see if I can find a piece, see if that one will fit. But obviously that's going in loose because this is not the, whoop, you can see here, obviously this is going in loose because I don't have the other tenon in here. But you can see how that's going to work. They're going to offset each other there. So that is how you do the draw boring. And after they go through, you can take a crosscut saw like this and just trim it off, and then just use a chisel to pare it down nice and smooth to the surface of the leg. One thing you'll want to keep in mind is to this surface right here, you should probably plane down with your hand plane or sand it down before you do this step, because you can't go back and do it afterwards. It's going to be kind of difficult. It is an inside part of the leg, not super critical, but you can still kind of see that, at least this side. So that is draw boring, my friends, and we'll keep going with the next steps of this desk, and we'll put it all together, and we can start making some more progress. If you're interested in learning traditional woodworking with hand tools, visit my website at woodandshop.com, where you'll find free video tutorials, buying guides, workshop tours, and reviews. Make sure you subscribe to receive my regular blog posts and YouTube videos, and don't forget to check out my 10 steps for getting started. Enjoy!